All right, we're talking with Jordan Page here, and Jordan, welcome on to the show here. Glad to have you, and tell us a little bit about yourself to start off with.
Well, I'm a musician. I've been playing music and touring for many years now. Well, I guess 7 or 8 years, and I got into the Liberty perspective and Liberty movement around the end of 2006 when I wrote a song in the middle of the night called Pendulum. And at the time I wrote this song, it was December the 1st of 2006, I really was very much politically illiterate and somewhat apathetic and indifferent. The song really wrote itself very, very quickly in the middle of the night, as I said, and I really had to read the song after I wrote it, and then I played it for a pretty big audience. And I was really scared to play it because I understood that it did have political significance and it did have a strong message, and I wasn't used to that. And I was sure they were going to react negatively to it, but I got a standing ovation. And so after I performed it, so it made me kind of wake up a little bit, and it helped me to realize that there's something more going on here, and that I was given a gift, and that I had to learn what this song was about. And I took the next year and a half of my life, writing more songs, learning all I could about government, about the cooperation of the banking cartels all over the world, about war and how wars are started, and who benefits from them, and who is slaughtered. And it really woke my eyes up to what's really going on in the world. And I decided that it was my calling to take the gift that I had, which was live performance and composition, and use it and focus it to accomplish some greater good. And that greater good is waking up the populace of the United States as well as other countries as to what is actually happening in the governing bodies and what the global mission for our enslavement is. I'm just one voice of reason in a sea of madness, and there are many voices that are kind of calling out in the wilderness, and I'm one of them, and I'm proud to be counted among people like Ron Paul. I've had the very fortunate opportunities to share the stage with Dr. Paul and open for him on a number of occasions, about 14 now, and I've gotten to know him, and I support him and his message, and I've supported his campaign, and which is very uncharacteristic of me, because I only put my name next to people or things that I really believe in, and I really believe in everything that he's stood for 12 terms, in Congress. So Ron Paul's been a big part of my life in the last three and a half years, and I'm an anti-war activist, and I sing songs about freedom.
All right, very good. And you talked a little bit about you've been an active musician for a period of some 7 or 8 years, and you mentioned that Pendulum really kind of was your pivot point where you went more political. What was the theme of songs before that? Because I think people who follow you now, that's what they know you for, and that's what they expect from you. And so, kind of, what was the feel of your music before that happened?
Well, I've been playing music and writing songs for about 20 years. I mean, I started when I was about 11, and I was writing songs about relationships, things that normal type stuff. And as I got a little bit older, I got a little more ethereal and cerebral, and I wrote a lot of songs about concepts, philosophical, spiritual concepts. As a Christian, that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, is from God and the pursuit of enlightenment. I don't do praise music. It's just not my style of ministry or worship. But I play rock and roll. I play secular music, and I always have. But it comes from a very much from a Christian perspective. And so, my first real album, which was The Book of Life, which I released in 2005, had 10 songs on it that were all chapters of my life. There's a song I wrote when I was 16 called Presence, that was after my father's father passed away. My dad and I, who had not gotten along until that point for quite some time, kind of found each other again and became best friends, and recognized the you know, what we had been missing in each other for many years, and it was kind of an interesting passing of the torch as an old man dies. You know, his son and then his son again came together. You know, so that was a song. I wrote a song about some spiritual experiences I've had. A couple songs about the beautiful lady that is now Mrs. Page were on that album, and a lot of songs about perseverance and hope and just trying to find our place in the world. It was all, you know, I was always kind of deep and wasn't interested in the same old, you know, bubblegum BS type music that kind of saturates the airwaves. I was always trying to put something good out there, and I knew that I was sort of meant to use my music for some greater good, but I just didn't know what that was until 2006. So it was a year after I released my Book of Life record was when I found this new message of peace activism and the liberty message, which was you know, personified in the song Pendulum, which really changed my life in a big way.
Absolutely, and then while we're talking about it, why don't we'll go ahead and we'll switch gears. We'll go right into we'll play the song Pendulum now. We'll let folks hear Pendulum. Here it is, Pendulum by Jordan Page.
I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders who claim to be listening. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight, like a moment of blindness and a lifetime of sight. And I am caught somewhere in the middle. I saw a president blind to the needs of his people. Saw a camel that passed through the eye of a needle. Saw a group of old men whose money was evil. Saw a cross breaking free from the cage of a steeple. Saw beggars and cripples dying in squalor. A son whose sins had exceeded his father. Saw a nation of sleepers whose dreams were forgotten, and a bushel of apples from a tree that was rotten. And a pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight, like a blindfold when it's time to walk toward the light. And I am lost somewhere in the middle. I heard the echo of suffering in the valley of laughter. Heard the rumble of earthquakes far under the water. I heard a court jester whose forked tongue was twisted. He told us of dangers that never existed. Heard voices that claimed to be moral and righteous, whose lies and deceit were all dark and contagious. Heard talk of a country that valued its freedom, but when I protested, I was arrested and beaten. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the weight and the height. But if nobody's listed, is anyone right? And I can't seem to find the key to the riddle. I met a young woman with a baby inside her. I looked, but there wasn't a safe place to hide her. I met an old man with a face like a mirror. He showed me his sadness so I could see clearer. But an arrogant leader who robs us and cheats us, pretends that his orders come directly from Jesus. When he sends out our children to strange foreign soil, to kill for the right to monopolize oil. I'm raising my voice against the house of derision that murders our freedom with short
Okay, so that was Pendulum, Jordan, and that's one of the first songs that I came across of yours and was really inspired by. And as you and I have talked before, I mean, I find your music very inspiring. And I think you mentioned before we played Pendulum there, you mentioned that you are a Christian individual, that you are a spiritual individual. And I think folks who listen to your music and read your lyrics and really listen into that can hear that message. And talk a little bit about that and some of the audience that you've gained for that part of your message.
Well, it's interesting because, a lot of people do get it. Some people think I'm a full-on Christian artist, and I'm like, well, I'm an artist who's a Christian, and I'm up there glorifying God the way that I think that He is asking me to, which is to go into dark places, where I used to play in bars quite a bit, and where people were, kind of polluting themselves and each other, and trying to bring a more positive message and encourage them to leave. It's gained me a lot of fans. It's gained me a lot of credibility with people, even people that don't believe what I believe. I don't require anybody to believe what I believe, and I don't judge them for not believing what I believe, because there was a time that I didn't necessarily believe all of it either. There's a huge audience out there of people who are starving for spirituality, and my music is holistic enough where it's not like it doesn't. I don't think it really alienates a lot of people. Like there is a song that I wrote called "Until the Races Run," which is the last song on my album, Liberty, that my wife actually sings a beautiful duet with me. That I wrote another song I wrote very quickly. I wrote that in 2005. And that was about gratitude for my life and what I'm able to, my gifts, and about perseverance to see through the things that I need to do, to see them to their completion, And the chorus says, all that I ask for, please let it be done. Let my feet keep running until this race is run. Well, at the end of that song, I do mention Jesus, and I'm in the lyrics, I'll ride through the cities like Christ on a donkey when I know that Jesus is sitting beside me. And it's just talking about the transition from being just like a regional touring artist now being a national touring artist, where I'm getting these big receptions in a lot of places that I go, and people know who I am, and I know that God's sitting beside me and helping me along, that invisible hand just kind of directing my path.
Yeah, and you mentioned the song "Until the Race is Run," and we'll play that here in just a minute as well. Let folks get kind of acquainted with your music here. But I think you really hit on something important when you were talking there. You talked about how you don't require people to believe in the same thing that you believe in, and I think that's a really important quality for the Liberty movement. Is you don't have to. Nobody requires that everybody is 100% in agreement. The point is, we believe in a single message, and we're trying to promote that message. But we don't have to necessarily agree 100% on everything in order to be friendly and to work towards a similar cause. That's
totally right, and I believe in building bridges. And blessed are the peacemakers. And so, I'm radical enough to where like the hardcore atheist anarchists like my music, and I'm mainstream enough where the right wing evangelicals like me, and everybody in between. I've got fans that don't even agree with me politically who like the music. They just don't agree with what I'm saying. So, music is a really wonderful tool for bridging gaps between generations, between demographics, between belief systems, and that's one of my main goals, is to develop communication between groups and to just kind of solidify the momentum that we have going to help it to continue to grow. And I don't see that happening without some sort of spiritual cohesive agent. And for me it's the music and the message and the passion behind it.
That's exactly right, and I think now we'll just pivot in, and we'll go ahead and play the song "Until the Race is Run." When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about why we're doing this segment and why we're doing this show. We'll let folks in on that a little bit when we come back after this song by Jordan Page, "Until the Race is Run."
picked up an angel whose left wing was broken. I sewed him together with some string and a vision. He raised his right hand and he gave me an answer. My mouth opened wide and I asked many questions. I see crowds of people all gathered around me. They all want the truth, but they don't want to hear it. I fear they will rob me if I dare to speak it. But poverty bears the fruit of the prophet. And I'm nothing but an old bag full of bones. If I can't feel my soul burning out in the gold, and all that I ask for, please let it be done. Let my feet keep moving until this race is run. I spent all my life in the shadow of dreamers, in the warped human drama that elevates cheaters. But where will I go when the curtain is falling? When the theater's quiet and the encore's been taken? Well, all I can offer is a voice, some hands, and a song. And I'll keep on singing until that voice is gone. Whoa. Let my feet keep running until this race is won. And people will change like the leaves from summer to fall. But too many winters will make them forget that they ever changed color at all. And history should be a mirror. It's more like a blank chalkboard on the wall. Maybe someday, maybe someday. And if there's beauty, I know I will see it. And if it's held prisoner, I'll break chains to free it. I'll ride through the cities like Christ on a donkey, when I know that Jesus is sitting beside me. And if any man shall ask, he'll be given, and from him who steals much more will be taken. 'Cause there's many wrong roads that lead to the prison. So pray for us sinners that's squabbling and fighting. Whoa, some things in this world mean nothing. Some things mean even less. As you go from one state of motion to another of rest. Whoa, that I would love to see happen. Lord, can it be done? Let my feet keep moving until this race is won. All that I ask for, please let it be done. Let my feet keep moving until this race is run.
Coming out of the song now, Until the Race is Run, Jordan Page, and we've got a special event coming up here. We're calling it Iowa Libertyfest. It's something I've been a part of the planning of, and we've been very lucky to bring Jordan in. He's going to be a big part of it. He's our headlining act. He'll be in Hampton's Bandshell Park on Saturday, September 22nd. The concert will start at 8 p.m., and there'll be a lot of other things going on as well. But Jordan, you're really kind of the anchor for the whole thing. Talk a little bit about coming to Iowa and what this whole thing means to you.
Well, I'm really excited about it, Shawn. I'm really excited. I've got a lot of friends and fans in Iowa. I was in Iowa last summer for the straw poll. I was invited by the Ron Paul campaign to perform at his tent at the straw poll, and got to perform for several thousand people and share the stage with the good doctor and his family. And I had a very positive experience in Iowa and made a lot of friends and made a lot of fans. And I've had a lot of requests to come back to Iowa, just never had the opportunity to do so until now. So, I'm really flattered and humbled by the outpour that I've seen from you guys. And, I'm going to come and melt faces and, educate and validate people's, concerns and validate their passion for what they do and just try to bring the Liberty movement to Hampton. I'm really excited about it.
We should clarify. Jordan's a peaceful individual, and he's not literally going to be melting faces. That's an expression used in rock music.
Yes, that is a figure of speech. I am not going to melt your face with any kind of bizarre space weapon.
Yeah.
just my high voltage Liberty rock.
Right on. And I know, like you said, we're all very excited for it as well, and we're all getting geared up. I've talked to folks all across the state of Iowa that are getting geared up for this thing, and we're really all very excited. And the whole thing is really, like you said, it's about promoting the message of liberty, and it's a nonpartisan message. We talk a lot about Ron Paul. Well, he's a figure. But it's not about him. It's about the larger message, and that's what we're trying to do with Iowa Libertyfest, and that's the message that you promote really well, and that's I think one of the big reasons why we wanted to seek you out to come headline this thing.
Oh, well, thank you so much, man. I can't tell you how much it means. I've been at this for several years now, and I've played all over this union, and It never surprises me, and everywhere I go that there are dedicated groups of people who are committed to promoting this message and to freeing each other from the false left-right paradigm, because it is a nonpartisan message. The left and the right, they're the same people. It's not about left and right. It's about the state versus us, and that is one of the central tenets of my whole mantra is getting people to free themselves from the old ways of thinking that have been perpetrated on us since the time of my grandfather's grandfather, and we're all born into this invisible prison, this mental prison, and we accept the tyranny that we see every day and that we experience every day because we don't know any different. The easiest way to deprive a people of their rights is to never teach them they had them in the first place, and so that is but some of us have woken up. Some of us are educating our friends and neighbors, and we are calling you to Hampton, Iowa, to take part in Libertyfest, listen to the speeches, listen to the music, meet other like-minded people, and just converge and let freedom ring.
That's the biggest part of the message, and I think that's a perfect lead-in to the next song that I think we're going to talk about. That's Liberty. It's the title cut off of your 2011 album Liberty, and opening line to that song really catches me and really hits me. And why do we sit down when we all should be standing? And I think that's just a great way to grab attention.
Why do we sit down when all should be standing? And why do we back down at the critical moment, like running away from the waves of the ocean? We head for the hills with the high tide approaching, as sand slips away from the castle. When it's time to stand upright, why why do we falter? Like placing our freedom on the sacrificial altar. We hold tight to our fears and defend our oppressors as we fight for their lives and become the transgressors. As pacifists transform to violent aggressors. But I'm only a stranger here. I'm a long, long way from my home. And they say I can't change all the things I find strange. For what can one man do alone? They say, what can one man do alone? When is the right time to stand up for freedom? Could it be when you start to feel creating children who'll inherit the pain and the debt of this nation and be slaves to the banks that cause hyperinflation, who are masters of commerce, lies, and bad legislation? Oh, if you looked in the eyes of 1,000 young children through fences of razors, their innocence stolen as the red flag of tyranny flies in the open, is that when you finally notice? Whoa, but I'm only a stranger here. I'm a long, long way from my home. And they say I can't change all the things I find strange. For what can one man do alone? It's what can one man do alone? I'm only a stranger looking to find better nature in my fellow man. But they keep telling me it's a sin to be free, and that's more than I'm willing to stand. Where will you be when the order is given to censor your mind as free speech is forbidden, as martyrs for peace from the world will be driven away by the sound of a bellowing thunder and choke on the blood of a dream going under, as arrogant men tear up our Constitution, and from every direction we cry revolution, standing together and without permission, soldiers for truth in the war of attrition, the love of our country as our ammunition. But I'm only a stranger here. I'm a long, long way from my home, and I'm going to change all the things I find strange, for I am not one man alone. Yes, I'm only a stranger. I'm a long, long way from my home, and I'm going to change all the things I find strange, for I know that I'm not alone. Yes, I know I'm not alone. Not alone.
So there it was, Liberty by Jordan Page. You can find that on jordanpagemusic.com. Jordan, that wonderful website. You've got it up there, and folks can find your music there. jordanpagemusic.com. They can purchase downloads, and tell folks a little bit about your website and what else they can find there.
Well, you know, when you go to the website, you can see my calendar. You can check out samples of the music. You can also there's a link that says Educate, and you can read a lot of our founding documents in PDF form from my website, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, the Principles of '98. There's a lot. There's some great economics books, Rothbard, von Mises. There's just a lot of great resources on there that people can check out. You know, when I was in school, they never taught me anything about the Constitution in social studies class. I don't even remember there ever being a unit on it, which is very indicative of the predicament that we're all in, because we're not being taught the very founding documents that secure our liberties and limit, you know, government power. So, you know, I'm taking it upon myself to put that information out there all in one place. You can also, you know, you can order you can order music from my store. I'm listed on iTunes and Rhapsody, Amazon, Napster, CDBaby.com. Anywhere, you know, online music is sold, you can find my music and download it, and there's a lot of links on there that you can check out. So a lot of great resources and a lot of great music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great resource, and like you said, there's more to it there than just your music, and I think those education links are very helpful. And anytime you can push those original documents out there and kind of say people, you know, don't take my word for it. Read the words. They're right there. I think that's a great thing. So thanks for putting that on your website there. And one of the next facets we'll talk about here, sticking with that 2011 album Liberty, you've got a track on there titled "The Victory Song,"
yes.
And that's something that grabs onto me as well, because it talks about, you know, the underdog winning, and what's more American than a story where the underdog wins? Well,
true, and you know, I wrote that song right after Election Day 2008, when I saw thousands and thousands of my brothers and sisters on television weeping and laughing and crying and holding each other and jumping up and down and celebrating, because they had finally, you know, been rid of the tyranny that was George Bush's presidency, and that we had our, you know, our new Messiah, and that he was going to save us from all the damage that George Bush did. But I had done plenty of research into our current president at the time, and, you know, did not vote for him, and knew better at the time, and I was kind of shocked and dismayed and disappointed at how the depth to which people had been duped by his cult of personality and by his, you know, 3-word slogans. Didn't really surprise me, just disappointed me. And I wrote that song chronicling that time, you know, a time when, you know, we were, you know, across the board, people were calling for the torture of prisoners. They were not questioning government or government's motives for the things that it does. And I took it upon myself to lay it all on the line. So, you know, quite a bit of that song is kind of like in historical context, that period of our history. But there's these really big choruses with the gospel choir that I wrote for the people in the movement, that encouraging them to hold on and continue the fight. And, you know, if we all hold on to each other, you know, we'll basically get through this, you know, and live in the here and now. You know, don't live in the past, but learn from it. So it's really it's my wife's favorite song on the album. It's absolutely one of my favorite songs to play live. I love this song. Even when I do it without the choir, it's still a really fun song to play. So.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing it live too, and I know it is a very fun one to listen to, and you know, one of the things that I think people can mistake some of your music for is sometimes maybe they think the tone sounds too downtrodden. Maybe it sounds too depressing, and this is really a build you up kind of song, and you know. I find inspiration in the entire album. You know, my wife, she's not necessarily into the movement. She's not into all of it, and so when she listens to it, she's like, "Oh, it's depressing." Well, it's not depressing. It's just that it's slower. You know, some of the music, and this is one that just grabs a hold of me. And I said, "See, Jordan Page is an inspirational individual." So, but no, I mean, this is definitely a good track and a good cut, and a very great call on the choir there, and good production selection there.
Thanks.
And just out of curiosity, the choir that you hear on the track, a little bit of background on them. Where did that choir come from?
Well, that choir was created by one woman.
Oh, perfect.
Who's a gospel singer who did all the parts. We wrote out the harmonies, and she layered and layered and layered them, and then she did her little Aretha Franklin ad-lib line on the second time around, and really blew us all away. I don't think anybody in the studio was expecting the incredible range and sounds to come out of that lady's voice that did when she did her ad-lib part, but it really turned out really well. Her name is Nova Peel. And she goes by the name Nova. She's a really amazing lady.
Very good. So here it is, the victory song, Jordan Page.
Excitement builds on election day. Results come pouring in. A landslide victory for the underdog. A proud and glorious win. And the people cheer between their tears and call their rising sun to spread his might and shed his light on darkness overcome. And the people cry from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. But the night grows long and our victory song has lost its melody. Found in the TV sets is clear and strong and bright. Though the world collapses beneath our feet, they swear that all is right. Though brown men drown in their prison cells and towers fall to dust, but no one questions the official word. In wicked men we trust. And the people cry from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. But the night grows long and our victory song has lost its melody. The razor wire, like wildfire, spreads fast across the land. And the laws they break are the lives they take, only because they can. Let the choir sing, let the drummers drum, let all who hear this know we're marching on to our victory song. Let my people go. And the people cry from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. But the night is gone and our victory
All right, there was the victory song by Jordan Page. We're back with Jordan now, and now we're going to get down to the meat of it here, exactly what we're talking about here, and as we leave the show here, as we get out of this, we'll play the final track we're going to talk about. We'll play The Message of Freedom, and that's exactly what the whole movement is all about. That's what Iowa Libertyfest is all about, and that's what the soul of your music is all about, is the message of freedom. Talk a little bit about this track and kind of how it came to you.
Well, this song originally was a letter that I had written to my sons. I have two small boys, and I wrote the letter in April of 2010 on an airplane to St. Louis, Missouri. I was heading to the National Libertarian Convention and to do a show, and it just kind of hit me all at once that folks in the past who have stood up against government oppression and tyranny and war don't always end up, living to tell the tale. And so it occurred to me the danger that I was in, just traveling around doing what I do. And so I decided to write them a letter so that they would have it in case something ever happened to me, or even just in any context, something ever happened to me and I wasn't around, that they would know who I was and what my instructions were for them, how they should live their lives if I wasn't around to teach them myself. So I wrote them this really heartfelt private letter and just kind of tucked it away. And then a year later, the day before the first session for the Liberty album in July, I was having breakfast, and I just remembered the letter. I pulled it out and I read it again, and I heard music and melody, and the letter just transformed itself into the song. So, I play the song all the time, and it's one of my most popular songs, and I think it really resonates with parents, because the real reason I'm doing all the things that I'm doing, I was called to do this. I feel like I was called to do this by the Lord, but I'm doing it for my children and for yours and for everyone else's, so that they may not be slaves when they, slaves to the banks, slaves to the bureaucrats, and slaves to a system that seeks to take away their individuality and take away our way of life. And my children are what I'm most passionate about in life, and they are my country. They are who I salute my allegiance to, and I pledge my allegiance to my children wherever they are. That is my country, and so that's where the song came from. It was born out of love for my children and trying to give them hope, in the face of oblivion, the kind of darkness that we face down the road, and just trying to remind people where the protesting spirit that is uniquely American comes from, and remind people that every despot that's come down the pike in the history of the world, they don't last. The people keep the spirit of freedom alive in their hearts, and eventually we overcome. So.
Yeah, and there are so many individual lines that you can pick out of the song. As I'm looking through the lyrics right now, there's so many individual lyrics that you could pick out that are stand alone by themselves, inspirational.
What's your favorite lyric in that song?
My favorite lyric in that song is the way it starts out. Sons, as I write you this letter, because you're right, that identifies it for me, and that right there it grabs me as a father, and it personalizes it. And one of the things I talk to people all the time about is you have to take care of the most local form of government first, and that's your house, and to me that brings it home, and it makes the message that much more important. And then we're talking about being good to each other, and that's such a simple message, but it's so hard sometimes for people to live out. And that's the one thing, if we could pass on to our kids, just be good to one another, and treat every man as a friend. I don't find what's controversial about that. I mean, and quite frankly, I don't know anybody that has ever said that this song is controversial, but sometimes when you get involved in politics and you get involved in that form of speech and in that form of writing, people will pick things out and they'll just pick it apart just because of the fact maybe they didn't like something else you said. this is a song that I think, how could anybody ever find anything wrong with it? To me, I just think this is a perfect message and a perfect song, and it's very strong and very powerful. And it's one of the things that really spoke to me about you, and I'm just happy to talk to you right now to get your thoughts on writing it and the message of freedom. Wow, it's a great track, man.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn. Thank you for everything, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. So before we head into the song, just want to remind people again, Iowa Libertyfest. It's coming up. Constitution Week actually will kick off the week on Monday, September 17th. That's actually Constitution Day, and one of the reasons we started it there is because look at your calendar. So many calendars don't recognize Constitution Day, and I personally find that absurd. And people still celebrate the 4th of July. They celebrate the big party of Independence Day. We wanted to remind people that, hey, there's Constitution Day as well, and we need to celebrate that as well.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, and then Jordan, your show, it's going to be Saturday, September 22nd. You'll be here. I know you talked about you'll be in town for a few days, and we're looking forward to having you and showing you the area and being part of Hampton, Franklin County, and having you back in Iowa.
Oh, thank you so much, Shawn.
All right. So here it is, Jordan Page, The Message of Freedom. Check us out. Check out JordanPageMusic.com. And also be sure to check out Libertyfest online, iowalibertyfest.wordpress.com. And that's where you'll find all the information about Iowa Liberty Fest. So once again, thanks again to Jordan Page.
Sons, as I write you this letter, days past and days yet to come, and the message of freedom. Message of freedom. I stand at the edge of the pages of history and lessons unlearned. It feels like these pages are remaining unturned, but boys, it's no mystery. Children, I'm sorry to leave you this world in a state of disaster. It was given to me in a similar state, but I woke up so late in the game. Now it's spiraling faster. 'Cause freedom's the answer, so what is the question? Resist the advances of force and aggression, and leave to your children the promise of something more. As God is my witness, I'll be a slave no more. Boys, listen close, for our souls may depend on the actions we take and the causes we choose to defend. So treat every man as a friend, and live your own lives in their divine processions. Transform your world with your selfless expressions. Reach out your hands, in time we'll understand. Children, one day I'll be gone, and you'll have to remember these words and be strong as you cling to each other, your family, your faith, and your father's song. You've known this all along. Well, freedom's the answer, so what is the question? Resist the advances of force and aggression, and leave to your children the promise of something more. As God is my witness, I'll be a slave no more. The message of freedom endured every tyrant or second-rate despot the world's ever known, and for one simple reason, the people have kept it alive. And with no end in sight to the level of violence voices will sink forth to silence the will of the people. In you it must survive. Well, freedom's the answer, so what is the question? Resist the advances of force and aggression, and leave to your children the promise of something more. As God is my witness, I'll be a slave no more. Well, freedom's the answer, so what is the question? Resist the advances of force and aggression, and leave to your children the promise of something more. As God is my witness, I'll be afraid no more. Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, to be purchased with chains from our necks to our feet? Forbid this, Lord, I know not what is left.